بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So now moving on to the second discussion of traditions. Allah Ta'ala in this section brings the traditions to do with the ta'wil, or the discussion of the inner meanings of some of the verses of the Surah al-Fatihah. And this is really the only place where he will talk about these traditions, because then he leaves the ta'wil, because it's not part of the tafsir of the Quran, it's part of the inner meanings of the Quran. The tafsir of the Holy Quran, or the explanation of the Holy Quran, deals with the outward meanings of the Holy Quran, and as Allah Ta'ala has explained in his introduction, he intends to deal with the tafsir of the Quran from the perspective of dealing with the ayats of the Quran by looking at other ayat. So the discussion on ta'wil is something that is, if you like, outside of the scope of Tafsir al-Mizan, even though he does at times bring some very, very important issues of ta'wil in one-liners. So you'll find he says, important aspects of ta'wil, he brings them there, but not in terms of his main discussion. So this is the only time he's really going to talk about the traditions that talk about ta'wil, and he doesn't keep bringing them then in the rest of his tafsir. So the first tradition is in Man la yahduruhu al-Faqih and Tafsir al-Ayyashi from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, where he says, the Sirat al-Mustaqim is Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. So the reason why this is the inner explanation of the Holy Quran is it is a specification of the referent of the verse of the Holy Quran, and this kind of specification is something that cannot be ascertained simply from the outward verses. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, Sirat al-Mustaqim, the meaning of Sirat al-Mustaqim, we would go back to the linguistic meaning, we would look at other verses in the Holy Quran that talked about the Sirat al-Mustaqim if we were looking for the exegesis or the tafsir. But we would not step forward and say the Sirat al-Mustaqim is this person. That is not part of the tafsir. That is part of the hidden meaning, the meaning that is not obvious and apparent when you simply look at the words of the Holy Quran. But we have a tradition here, and other traditions as well, that speak about how the Sirat al-Mustaqim in this instance is Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. And in another tradition in Ma'ani al-Akhbar from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, when talking about the Sirat al-Mustaqim as well, the Imam explains that it is the path towards the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are two paths, the path in the dunya and the path in the akhirah. As for the path in the dunya, then it is the Imam that a person has to obey. The one that knows the Imam in the dunya and follows them on the Sirat, then of course in the Day of Judgment, or in the Akhirah, they will also pass across that Sirat that goes over the hellfire. And of course the one that doesn't know the Imam in the dunya, then their foot will slip and they will find themselves in the fire of hell. In the next tradition as well, now this time in Ma'ani al-Akhbar again from Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, he says that between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and between his hujjah, between him and his proof, there is no hijab, there is no veil. And if you like, other than the hujjah, other than the proof, there is no veil. There is no veil other than the hujjah. And then the Imam continues to say that we are the doors of Allah, we are the Sirat al-Mustaqim, we are the vessels of the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are those that explain His revelation, we are the pillars of Tawheed, and we are the place of His secrets. So now all of these traditions are from the principle of Jari. The principle of Jari in the Holy Quran is that the verses, although they have a specific context of revelation, they are not confined to that concept. That is, that the purport of the verses are general, and so they can apply to different people in different times, to different situations in different times. So in terms of these explanations of what the Sirat al-Mustaqim is, the Sirat al-Mustaqim and the people of the Sirat al-Mustaqim are different in each time. And so when we say Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, then in one period of time it can mean a certain personality, and in another period of time it can mean another personality, because the context of revelation is one thing, and who it applies to, if you like, is another thing. And of course the word Jari is a term, and this term itself has been taken from some of the riwayat from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam that explain that the Quran works like this. And so this is one of the principles of ta'wil that has been delivered to us from the Imams alayhim afdalu salatu wassalam. So there are some traditions to that effect. One of the traditions is from the tafsir of al-Ayyashi, when somebody asks Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam concerning the riwayah that is narrated from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he explains that the Quran, or every single ayah in the Quran, has an outward aspect and an inward aspect. And every single letter of the Holy Quran has a limit, and for each of those limits there is a rising place. So he asked, what does it mean here when we talk about the outward and the inward of the Holy Quran? So the Imam explains, the outward of the Quran is its tanzil, okay, and the inward of the Quran is its ta'wil. So also the Mufassirin have split between tafsir and ta'wil in this regard as well. Not all Mufassirin, but of course the Mufassirin of the Shia, when we look at Shi'i ta'wil, because in the milieu of the Ahl Sunnah, tafsir and ta'wil are interchangeable. They can be interchanged in some ways. So the Imam continues, of the tafsir and the ta'wil is that which has passed, and that which hasn't occurred yet. So here, of the ta'wil, not of the tafsir. The tafsir is how it has come down. So the outward aspect is the tanzil, and the inward aspect is the ta'wil. The inward aspect, there is that which has passed and that which will come to pass. It moves along like the movement of the sun and the moon. So just in the same way that the sun flows, and then the moon comes, and then the sun comes, and then the moon comes, in that kind of movement it also flows. And here is where the Imam uses the term yajri kama yajri ash-shams wal qamar. It moves in the same way that the sun and the moon move. So this is one riwayah here, and there are other riwayah as well, where the Imams will apply a verse of the Holy Quran on something that it applies to. Okay, even if that application is something that is outside of the context of revelation. So this is one of the if you like, the principles of ta'wil, and like I said, Allama Tabatabai is going to leave most of this to be spoken about at another time. So this concludes our investigation of the next type of riwayat, and inshallah next week or next time we will speak about the Surah Al-Baqarah, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.